the deep shame that I think atheists have for what they know to be their true history makes them hide all of this. Okay? So this is the history of atheism. This is where modern atheism starts, and this is the outcome. Now, atheists always make the claim with atheism, once they replace religion, they will bring peace on earth. They will bring rationality. We're going to have a look at the kind of rationality they brought. So okay, so what you have, let's have a look here. According to his thesis, now this, as I said, this is a well-known text, and apparently, okay, so laws were passed by the French government, by the French atheist government. And of course, the atheists are going to come out and say they weren't real atheists. August 1st, 1793, prescribing the extermination of the men, the deportation of the women and children, and the destruction of the territory. That means burning the villages down, burning the houses. Prescribing the extermination of all the brigands. The brigand is anyone that would fight against them. So in Islam, this would be the kufr harbi, right? Anyone who would fight against the Muslims. They were considered brigands, right? Anyone who didn't want to abandon Christianity, become an atheist, and follow the government. Now, so what they have here is the massacre of Luc-sur-Boulogne includes brigands in the state of embryos, babies, and children. So these brigands that needed to be exterminated included babies in the womb, okay, young infants, and children, of whom 110 were under 8 years old, right? And then, of course, let's continue. The means of extermination. So let's have a look at the means of extermination employed by these rational atheists. So he lists the proto-industrial means implemented by the emissary of the Committee of Public Safety. At Ponts-de-Tze, bags are made from men's or women's skin. Policemen's trousers are made from human skin. Bread ovens are used to burn the villagers alive in Luc-sur-Boulogne, and cremation takes place in the church. In many cases, they would burn people to death in the church. Now, you will notice already from this, if you're familiar with what the Nazis did, this is on the same page. Extermination camps are established in Noirmoutier. Please excuse me if I'm butchering the French. Unsuccessful gassing attempts were carried out by the chemist deputy Antoine François Fouquet, then by the pharmacist Joseph-Louis Proust, who developed a device using a leather ball. So they tried to use chemical warfare to kill people. Boats are sunk in the Loire. These are the drownings of the galiots, or what is known better as the Republican marriages. They would undress men and women, now not just men and women, specifically nuns and priests. They would be stripped naked, tied together, sometimes with a log to make them drown, and they would be pushed off boats and drowned in the river. They killed thousands, as many as 10,000 people. When they ran out of nuns, they would take two naked priests or two naked men. They would tie them together in, well, let's just say in a homoerotic pose, and they would kill them by drowning. This was a way of, shall we say, this was an early attempt at industrial genocide, right? So, yeah, government knew idol, government knew God. Yeah, we're going to get into that. It's almost like the atheists were waging jihad. Villainous? Yes. It's hard to get away from that image. It is very hard to get away from that image. So Solution says, I'm so happy to see you live. I was working on a project, but when I got a notification that you were live, I had to stop my work. So thank you very much for that. Right. So this is atheism. In Clisson, fat is extracted by the carbonization of the villages to make soap. Now we can argue a whole day about the validity of the Nazis doing this, because it certainly did happen, at least to a small degree, right? However, they would make a fire, put a grill on top of it, and put French women on top of the grill, and they burned them alive, and then the soap would fall down, the fat would fall down, and they made soap with it. So yes, trying to humiliate the Christians and make them feel subdued. Correct, villainous. So understand, this is what they did. Making clothes of human skin, right? So this is what this French page. Now, fortunately, with the means of new AI and other technology, we can now start to access documents in other languages, papers in other languages, like French or Croatian or Serbian, and so on, right? Hitler was pro-Islam. Yes, Erkan, you are 100% correct. I'm going to be doing two two very detailed talks on Hitler and his pro-Islam stance. We're going to be going into that in depth. I'm still working on these presentations, adding more detail, but it is undeniable. Okay. Now, okay, I'm just going to go from here. We're going to go, obviously I'm on Sam Shamoun's channel on Thursday. I'll be talking about atheism. So now let me go, where was I here? This is a French genocide, the Vendée, right? And now I want to take you to a paper called Old Gods in New Clothes, the French Revolutionary Cults and the Rebirth of the Golden Age. And then I will briefly touch on, actually, you know what? Let me go to a PowerPoint presentation. I'll start here. I'm going to do a few pages of this, not every page. So I just need to track where I'm going. And I want to give an introduction, but I want you to understand. I want you to learn this. I want you to talk about this. I want you to discuss it in social media. Present this. Take screenshots if you have to. I'll be happy to share some of this with you. You know, and atheists need to own this. Right? Do you recommend buying the book? The book is available in my archive. So the book is available in my archive. So you will be able to find the book. Let me just get to that reference for you again. If you look up Secher, you will find this in my Google archive. Links are always in the description to my full research archive. Viola 90, Polisher, Dobry wieczór, Witaj. So, Hitler was a great fan of Muhammad. Okay, so on this topic, okay, briefly, let me show you briefly what this is about, then I'll show you some. So this is just an overview of what I'm working on at the moment, right? So this is a thesis. Now, very often when you struggle to find material, like let's say certain Islamic material, and it's hard to get it, it's behind a paywall, which is sometimes it's almost impossible. You will often find a thesis that talks about the topic. And you can find these theses, very often they're public, download them and they will quote and they will discuss relevant sections of that. So that's a very good way to get hold of these things. Okay? Right. So, correct, Rosemary. Mr. H was only a Christian when he was appealing for voters, right, for his government. And then afterwards he turned on them. Where do you get all these documents? That's classified information, Brandon. Okay, let me talk about this. This paper is very interesting. This is really interesting. Now, this is a topic that has been examined recently in the last 20 years or so. There's been more and more examination of the occult within the Nazis, right, within the Nazi ideology. Now, this was obviously once considered the domain of conspiracy theorists, you know, crazies, loonies.